Hello, hello, Art Joy Sharing people. It's Peg, and you may see that I have a guest with me today, and this lovely, gracious lady who I've never met in person, but we've spent plenty of online time together, has offered to show us some of the things that have me interested with some of the journaling and things that she's doing. So, Barbara Clark, I want you to tell people who you are, how you got involved in this, and uh, how they can find you, all of that good stuff.
Oh, how they can find me. I'm one of the many hundreds of Barbara Clarks on the YouTube. So I tell
So
people,
you are an Art Joy Sharing. So
and
there's
I'm in Art Joy Sharing. So you can certainly send me a personal message through Art Joy Sharing on Messenger. That's probably the best thing.
yeah.
And then I can send you a link. Um, so I do a few videos on YouTube, not very many. I have a few followers on YouTube, not very many, and I'm not trying to build a channel. I'm just playing and confronting my camera occasionally and having a good time with it. Um,
And I'm glad that you do that.
Thank you. You know, I got started. Probably you were one of my beginnings on this journey. I think it was before Art Joy of Sharing became Art Joy of Sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there
and
was stick, and then
my
there was
creative year,
yeah,
in
all
my
that good
creative
stuff.
year, 2017 or so.
Hmm.
Anyway, lots and lots of different teachers along the way, most of them on YouTube, especially after COVID struck.
Yeah.
Now, so much is on YouTube. And I've maybe coined a new phrase about that. I call it now the blabosphere because we get on everybody's chats while they're doing live streaming and we blab with each other. And so I've made some really good friendships through the blabosphere. And it's a wonderful time for me.
I had to write that down because that is a phrase that I will use in the future.
Please do. Please do. It could be that I actually did start something. I don't
It's
know.
going in here. It's
Oh,
going in there.
see, it's right there in your calendar. I have a place to write things too.
Very cool.
Anyway, you wanted me to talk today about Lynda Barry style journaling.
Absolutely.
So I have to,
You introduced me to Lynda Barry a number of years ago, and I was fascinated. I got her book right away and started looking at it. I particularly thought that my nephew or my grandson would be interested in Lynda Barry, and so I was off and running. She's amazing, um, and so when we were talking the other day, you said, there's all this and that and the other, and there was all kinds of things that we were talking about and we were looking at, and then you said, oh, and here's my Lynda Barry. And I said, you've got to show people that.
that's what you said.
Yeah. So
Okay, I
will
can
you
show
share?
people. Yes, I have it right here. I wanted to just first show the titles of the books
Uh-huh.
in case people haven't ever seen them.
Yep.
This is one of her oldest ones, and I actually found this on my library bookshelf. Thank you to my public library
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and then this is a recent one. So of course, I've since bought both of them. They kind of have the same content, lots of
Mhm.
content. If you can only buy one, I'd say buy syllabus because it's a collection of her college classes in thinking the unthinkable thoughts, getting the unthinkable out of your brain and into some form, any form. And she goes crazy with composition notebooks. That's what she has all of her students use as composition notebooks. Anyway, one of my other teachers, every once in a while, I'll do a search on YouTube to see who's doing what with Lynda Barry style journaling. And in that process, I discovered Lena from Denmark, Miss Linux. I'll put a link in the
We'll
comment.
have links below the video.
Okay,
So,
good.
yeah, you
Miss
and
Linux
yeah,
2010.
yeah.
If you search for Lynda Barry and Miss Linux 2010, you'll find a bunch of stuff. She kind of launched because Lynda Barry has people doing monsters. Well, I'm not into monsters. Sorry, I'm not. But a lot of the blabosphere is into monsters, and they are having so much fun with monsters, and it makes me laugh, and that's good. I like a lot of laughter. So anyway, monsters are good, though I don't do them. That's not what I do. So this this is my, see how fun that is. This is my take on the composition notebook. I didn't have any of those, and I don't like them, frankly. But I like this spiral bound. This is a notebook. I used to do a lot of dream work, and so this little Cambridge notebook.
Can you explain why you're not a fan of the composition book?
Well, I don't like the alligatoriness of it. I don't like how it gets. I don't like the paper, though. This paper isn't really much better, to tell you the truth. It gets crinkly when it gets wet.
Yeah.
So it's not for fine art. Though, if you look at Lena's videos, oh my God, she does fine art. But she does fine art anytime she. So I started this watching Miss Lena in April. So I'd take a page in here, and I use my distress inks. They're water soluble, but I never use them because they're water soluble. So I use my distress inks to color on the page. So
But
Lynda
really,
Barry,
on a page like that, is it going to make that much difference because you're not planning on getting it wet?
right. I'm not planning on getting it wet, so it doesn't really matter at all.
Yeah.
So for a long time, I went through this book like this, one page a day. I used one of my stencils probably to do something over here. I tried to do drawing something, though this is a stamp I carved. uh, Things I did that day, things I saw that day, and things I heard that day, and something I drew that day is what the Lynda Barry is, how this is related to the Lynda Barry plan. Plus, later on in here, I get more active with doing. Lynda Barry is big on borders. So I started doing borders in here, more borders than I had done before, just like this. But that still flagged for me. I mean, I did some of my Zentangles, that was fun. But then I'd get to the pages where I didn't do anything that day, and so I changed the date on the top. You know how it goes when you're through with something, you just don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
So
And we all get to that point on some of these things, and that's why this is kind of a progression.
yes, this is a progression. This changes. This changes right here. Very shortly after this, here's one where I changed the date on the top. I was getting tired, not doing it, not wanting to do it, not wanting to do something every day, wanting to do something else. Anyway, this was the last one like that. And I said, okay, well, I like having this in basket. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my calendar for my computer, and then I'm going to paint. So this is also an idea from Janet M. Young. Thank you, Janet M. Young. She calls her book The Beast. And of course, she uses rulers to make her lines, and it's all very neat. I do not do that. I slap it on there. And I have discovered, thanks to Shell C, Neocolor 2 colors. So these are made with Neocolor 2 colors. So it's gotten crinkly on the top. So I'm making notes of my day. I'm not doing stuff every day. but then when it got to November and I was doing Zen tangles, I did Inktober tangles. I didn't put them in here in October, but I did put them in here in November. So
Oh, cool.
I did a whole nother list of Zentangle prompts every day in November. And I didn't make a big thing of didn't make a big art piece or anything like I did for October, Inktober. But I did just put them in here and I just put them on this page. So I practiced them in my little book, in my little practice book, and then put them on the page in here. And I actually really like having art in here every day. So
Yeah.
now that I'm in December, I'm not doing that. It's done for November. And now I've got to come up with something else to put in the margins, and I haven't done that yet. And that's my whole story.
Well, and see, this is what I think is so important about this. You saw a concept that you thought would work for you. You started it, and this is how we learn. We follow along and do what our teacher is telling us. This is what you can do. But then somewhere along the line, you found your own voice.
I wanted something different. Yeah. I
Yes.
couldn't do
And
it that way anymore. Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just
And you
didn't.
made it yours.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a true artist, is that, you know, we learn and we grow and we take the things out of what we have seen that we like and want to become part of who we are and what we do. But then it also reflects who we are and what we do. And you've done that perfectly there in that book.
I love this book. I have all sorts of notes in here, and it on my December calendar page. I went through November and I found all the to dos, the ideas that I wanted to try and start. So now for December, I've got a whole list of things if I run out of ideas. Should I ever run out of ideas?
Well, one of the things that I was, you've inspired me,
Oh,
just by
good.
what you've done. And,
I'm
and
excited.
so I grabbed my book and I'm working in it and I'm saying, um, some of the things that both you and Lynda were pointing out were, who am I watching? What inspires me? Putting in photographs of things,
Yeah.
those types of things that I always want to incorporate into my journals, but somehow my journals end up being all this art and they don't have all the things out of my brain that I need to go
Right.
back to.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
that's what I like about this, is because it kind of combines the two things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it does. I end up not gluing much in here, not pasting much in here because I don't really want to get it to be big and wonky. But then, I run across a poem and there it is. I stick it in there.
Well, and that's something we were talking about the other day. We were talking about how many journals we actually work out of in the year's time. And this is one particular type of journal.
Right.
And I'm going to incorporate this into one of my journals for 2023. But I also am going to maintain some of those other types of journals. And you have other
Right.
types of journals too, right?
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. I have a daily journal that I just write I do a week at a glance thing.
Hmm.
I make my own washi tape out of my brayer rub off sheets, and then I divide up a double page, and I make my own week at a glance. I save copies of art that I've done in there, so it's kind of a timely, when I'm working on what record. I put my dreams in there. I do full moon and new moon writing. I put that in there, do a couple double page spreads of that in there. And so that's kind of my daily inner inner
But
writing.
that's more art and less writing.
That is more writing.
Oh, more writing and less art. Okay.
and more writing and less art.
So
More
where are you
inner.
doing your art then?
Well, in this view, you can't see over here, but right there on the shelf behind me is
Mm-hmm.
um, is my Art Joy of Sharing book.
Mm-hmm.
So I just keep whenever I use a traveler's notebook style, the dilutions.
Yeah, I love that size.
I do too. It's a great size,
Yeah.
but I don't love having just a single signature, so I always take it apart
Mm-hmm.
and and enlarge it. This is the
And
only
make
part
it
you
your
can see
own.
it,
Yeah.
and make it my own. So I've got 3 signatures in there. So
Mm-hmm.
so this is my Art Joy of Sharing book. So it's got one of my Zentangles in there and just you know,
Awesome.
stamping,
Yeah. Yeah.
and stenciling and playing. So this is when I do the Art Joy of Sharing, I do them in this book. And actually, I've had this kind of a book, some kind of a Art Joy of Sharing art journal for years. I do a flip every year, so I kind of let them be annual like
So do
that.
you have a playlist out there with that in it, Barb?
Do I have a playlist? I don't know if I have playlists of anything. I don't have so many videos, but uh, it's just called 2021 Flip. This I
Okay.
haven't made because I'll make it at the end of December. And I have
Yeah,
5 more
right.
pages.
Well, and by the time this airs, I'll be able to get the link for that.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
So we'll get that into the description on this.
Okay, I'll make myself a note to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Do that.
So yeah, we were talking about how we kind of separate or have different journals, and you don't necessarily have to have all these different things going on if that's not the way you work. I know that the way I work, I need, a watercolor journal for my watercolor, that I like
Right,
to have a black surface journal for, those things that we're using those bright neon colors on, and,
right.
putting it
Yes.
on a black surface. And, so I will have a number of different journals throughout the year, and I will work in them.
Yeah.
But and you can incorporate all of that into one journal just by making different sections in your journal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not necessary if you don't want to. If you just want a smaller book to take with you when you go someplace, or it's just one of those things that's a personal way of working. And Vicky, who's already done a video, has shown you how you can make a personal journal real easily and not spend a whole bunch of money.
Right.
Um, so the book that you're working out of there doesn't spend a whole lot of money either.
It doesn't, but the first one like this I made out of I made my own book out of just letter size paper. So I made it like it's only 8 inches tall. So I cut off the 1/2 inch on the 8.5 paper. I folded each lengthwise, right? No,
Hmm.
I folded each
Yeah,
lengthwise.
yeah.
And so I made it with some cardstock from a Delusions journal, some black cardstock, some tone tan cardstock. So the first one of these I made, I've got it in there somewhere, um, had 3 signatures. It either had 3 signatures or it had three, 3 different styles of paper all in one. So that you can make,
Yeah,
you just have
yeah,
a package of cardstock on your shelf. You can make your own
absolutely.
journal. You
Yeah.
don't have to buy a thing that you
Well,
probably
and if it's a particular cardstock that you like and use all the time, it's a perfect thing to make a journal from.
absolutely.
But the the Lynda Barry one that you're working on, that's in some kind of a calendar book, right?
That's in my little Cambridge style note-taking book.
Okay. It's a notebook.
So that's just a lined notebook. It's a little higher class than a regular lined notebook, but
Hmm.
not much higher class. So you can see the
Okay.
little place for notes over here, and you can
We'll
put
have to
pictures.
see if we can find that, and so if people want to get that, we can hook them up with that.
Yeah, I found these notebooks at Target, and I found them at the stationery store. Sometimes I find them, um, at the drugstore.
Yeah. Well, I think this one I'm working in was a Target one. It's a home edit one.
Uh-huh.
And it's just a calendar. It's just,
Yeah,
you know,
that's a perfect thing. And then you have a week, you have a month, and then you have a
yep.
week at a
Yeah.
glance thing in there. I think that's great.
Yeah. So, well, I just am fascinated with all of this. I hope you continue to share your journal in the group and show us how you're progressing throughout 2023. I think it'll be really cool to watch
Well, we'll
how that
see how it
takes.
changes. I like
Mhm.
I like how it looks with the whole month of color in it. Kind of
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah. And I hope people, will share the types of journals and the things that they're doing with us too. Put things in the comments and let us know what you like, what you find as a good alternative to maybe what we're doing, or
Yeah,
yeah, because
definitely.
we are always open for information. That's what community's about.
I always like a new idea too.
Absolutely. She made me happy when she started talking about Lynda Barry again, and it's
Well,
like,
Linda Barry, if I ever get stuck, I just open any one of those books, any one of those pages, and do something.
well, and it's just like I am finding things, just like your blavosphere. I'm finding things like that just kind of fly out of my head these days, and I'm saying I need to write that down because that's really good. I need to remember that one. So that's what that book is for. Put that stuff
It's
down.
really good for that. Just write down little things, and yeah.
Yeah,
And it's a good little memory thing too.
yeah.
Just flip
Well,
through
thank
and
you,
get,
Barb. I really
oh,
appreciate you sharing this with the group. I think
welcome.
a lot of people are going to enjoy this and want more information about this whole process.
I don't know if I have much more information, but you
But
guys,
we'll find some things, and we'll put them up there for you, and
yeah,
we'll, because there's a lot of information out there. Lynda has a number of different books. We'll try to get you some links for those different books. I I think I actually had two of hers, but she has more than that.
she
So
does. She
I
does. There's one in the young adult section of our library, and I just keep checking it out every once in a while, and, renewing it 4 times. So I'll keep it for 4 months
yeah.
and then take it back because I don't really need it. But it's called What It Is.
Well, it refreshes you or gives you more ideas or makes you think about your process and what
It
you're
does.
doing.
Yeah.
And that's what, sometimes you need that spark
Yeah.
to get you going. And that's what you're doing for me is you're
Well,
sparking me.
when I know we're done with this, but when I first started, when I first met you in 2017, I was still at the place. I had a single journal, my daily journal, and I was doing everything in it. I was not doing much art in it. I was doing all my dreams,
Yeah.
um, all the stuff I told you I was doing in this, but it wanted color. I wanted more color. And then somewhere along the line, I got into Barb Owens and mandala making. And
Yes.
then I wanted more circles. And because I'm sort of a Jungian wannabe, he does mandalas where he paints a mandala, what's in your inner landscape every day in a mandala form. And I did that for a while in my journals. So my journals just started to evolve, but it was all still chronological until I met a crazy, wild art journaling artist. And she brought 5 of her journals to the show where she was displaying her stuff. And I was incredulous because I was still so, okay, next page, it's the next page, it's the next page. You know, one book, next page, one book, next page. And she had all these books. And I said, how do you know which one to work in? And she said, whichever one I feel like working in,
Yeah,
you know?
that's
And I
right.
thought, that was such a huge eye opener to me. I
Well,
didn't do it right then, but now I have, 5 or 6 books.
now that you're talking about that, because you're talking about the mandalas, because we also were talking the other day about Tracy Moore, not Tracy, Tisha
Tisha,
Moore,
Tisha Moore.
and her journaling. And if you guys don't know Tisha Moore, you need to check out Tisha Moore's journaling. But you also had that Mandela
Oh,
book
yeah,
that you were showing me. Do you have that handy that you could
I
show?
do.
Okay.
This is made out of the Tisha Moore amazing, you can look it up on YouTube, the amazing 16-page journal out of a single sheet of watercolor paper.
Yep.
So you cut it, you get the 22 by 30 watercolor paper and do that. So Peg thought this would be a good thing for to do this journaling we're talking about doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, even if you're a scrap paper person, okay? Even if you're a scrap paper person and you have all these different things that need to go someplace, you can take a parent sheet and you can put all those little scraps into something.
Right. You can. You can.
Yeah.
I
So
have since bought the 8-inch Delusions black book because this got full, right? And I
yeah,
needed more space.
yeah. So there are any number of ways that you can do this, any number of bindings that you can do.
Yeah.
If you want to build your own, if you just want you're not into building your own and you just want to purchase something and then start working in it, we are not judgmental. We say work whatever way works for you. We just want to help inspire you and see what you're doing and grow as a community. So
Yeah, that's true.
thank you very much, Barbara. I'm
You're
just
very
so
welcome.
happy to share this time with you, and we appreciate all of your input.
Oh, thanks. Many blessings, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.